I'll call this meeting to order. It is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. It's 3 o'clock, and we're here to review the agreement for the medical examiner services. Commissioner Dose is on the line, and so is Commissioner Cowles. So I will turn it over to our prosecutor, Ben.
Perfect. Well, I'll jump in first and foremost and just update the BOCC on the fact that our medical examiner services for Shoshone County traditionally has been outsourced to the Spokane County Medical Examiner's Office. That's been the case for years.
As long as Lonnie Deuce has been there.
All right, so for quite a few years. The agreement for medical examiner services usually gets updated every few years. It's been a couple of years since we've had an update. And Spokane County reached out to us a few months back with a request to update their agreement. I'm assuming it mostly has to deal with their desire to ensure that all of their scope of work, processes, and ultimately payment for services accurately reflects what they want it to reflect. By way of options, there really is no alternative for us in North Idaho. Spokane County's really been the only source. They're utilized by all 5 of the northern counties to some extent, and they are been who we've contracted with for our services for quite some time. With that said, upon receipt of the new agreement or the new proposed agreement from Spokane County, I started doing some digging along with my colleagues, other civil prosecuting attorneys from the 1st District, and we identified that there is actually a statute under Idaho Code that requires any contract between a government entity in the state of Idaho and a government entity in another state to be reviewed and approved by the Attorney General. One of my colleagues pulled the records for the state for all of the contracts currently on the books that have been approved by the AG's office, and I think she said when she pulled those there were only 2 contracts total in the state records, which means that probably no other county is complying with this statute. But in any event, we caught it, so we're trying to comply with the statute. So, I think that's the big takeaway. We're really in step 1, which is I've gone through the agreement that Rick forwarded to me. I've made a number of recommended changes to try to protect Shoshone County. I've sent it back to Spokane County, and it's currently in the hands of their legal department for review. So, at this point in time, as far as the work on my side of things, that is the contract itself, I don't know that we really have a need for the BOCC to take any action on it today, but at least you guys have the background. So When it finally does hit your docket, whether it's in the form of a consent agenda item or otherwise, at least you know the background and the backstory, and you know what's in front of you and why it's there. Once we actually get the agreement to a point that both Shoshone County and Spokane County feel comfortable with, and it gets approved by both entities, it'll then have to go through the process of routing through the Secretary of State's office, getting to the AG's office for approval, and then we'll see what they do with it. Obviously, if they kick it back and want to see changes made to it, then we might have to go through round 2. Otherwise, it'll be effective after the AG's office approves it. And so that's what I can advise the BOCC on the contract itself. Rick, our elected coroner, is here, and perhaps he can provide some input or context on just the state of autopsies and other services from the ME's office, where we're at, up or down from previous years, things like that. And any other questions that the BOCC might have related to Spokane County's ME services they provide for us.
Right now, we've only got 1 autopsy out there for the year so far. But as we know, things can change overnight. Last year, I think, was if it wasn't our biggest year, it was close to the largest year, but or was it 2 years ago? We had
I think 2 years ago, yeah.
So, of course, we had 5 or 6 of them that we had to send over regardless because they were homicide.
Mm-hmm.
But right now we're at 1 for this year. I would like to keep it as low as possible, but
Mm-hmm. We all do.
and I think also 3 years ago or 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago we had a lot of fentanyl overdoses as well. I don't send motor vehicle people over for autopsy. I refuse to do that. I can tell you how they died. I can tell you the cause and the manner. And we can draw blood if they need blood. There's no reason to send somebody over for an autopsy just to determine their blood alcohol level. We can do that with blood. Correct, Ben?
Yep.
And as far as overdoses, we could probably draw blood on those, but we actually need to send them over there and see if the overdose actually caused the death. 99.9% of the time, it is, but was there something else is what we've got to determine.
Okay.
My name goes on a death certificate, and I'm not going to sign something that I'm not 100% sure on. I mean, I'm sure there ain't nobody sitting in this room won't sign something unless they're 100% sure.
Exactly. Yep. Thank you.
So, again, if we keep the drugs down and people quit dying, we'll be happy.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and to Rick's point, I think that if you look at I'm a big analytics guy. I love looking at statistics in order to try to gauge what does or doesn't work when it comes to governance. And I think one of the traditional trends you'll see is when, law enforcement activity goes up, usually it correlates short term with a spike in crime because you're actually addressing the crime. So you're arresting it, prosecuting it, incarcerating it, etc. And then on the backside of that slope, you usually then see the benefits in the 2, 3, 4 years after, where you actually start to see some of those caseloads go down.
Mm-hmm.
And then, some of the side effects obviously are reductions in things like overdoses, right? Obviously, overdoses aren't the only reason why a body would need to be sent for an autopsy, but it's one of the most prominent reasons why. And so I think we've seen a trend upward in our criminal caseload. Some of it's related to increased activity on 90 and the number of people coming through the county, but some of it's also correlated with the activity of law enforcement. And I think the numbers that Rick is sharing from this year, I think, are at least reflective of the fact that we've had a pretty large emphasis on drug activity the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're starting to see some of the benefits of it that, can be gleaned. So.
And it's the same way with suicides. I don't send suicides over there unless we see something that might be suspicious. It would be the only time I would send somebody. If it's a hanging, they leave a note. No.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ben's been out on a few where, we'll send them anyways. And,
Mm-hmm.
but we want to make sure that we cover all of our bases. And if it means sending them over for an autopsy at $4,000, then we send them over.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I'm not putting my name on something I'm not 100% sure of, because that comes back on me. So, any child death under the age of 18, it's mandatory that we send them over for an autopsy.
Okay.
So, regardless, if they're under the age of 18, we have to send them by law.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Dose, do you have any questions?
No, not at this time.
Commissioner Cowles, do you have any questions?
No, thank you for the information.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, guys.
You bet.
And we'll revisit this again.
Okay,
When it
sounds
comes
good.
in.
As soon as I've got a finalized agreement, I'll ship it over to you guys, and you guys can put it where you want on your agenda, and we'll work on moving it forward to execution. So,
All right. Thank you for your hard work.
okay.
All right. The meeting's adjourned.